My son uninvited me from his engagement. My family and wife went behind my back to attend it, and all because I made a comment on the dressing sense of a woman he brought home a year ago. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone outside of my immediate family, and I need Reddit to tell me if I'm losing my mind, or if what happened to me is as insane as it feels sitting in this motel room at 11:45 on a Tuesday night. I'm 58 years old, retired Army, 22 years of service across 3 deployments. I've been in rooms where reading people correctly was the difference between coming home and not coming home. I'm not telling you this to establish credentials. I'm telling you because what I'm about to describe is a group of people, my wife, my son, my extended family, doing something I never saw coming. And that specific blindness is what I can't put down. I didn't see it coming. I should have. I don't know what to do with that. My son Marcus is 23. He's a good kid. I want to say that clearly before I say anything else because whatever happened between us in the last year doesn't change what he was for the 22 years before it. He's smart, he works hard. He has his mother's stubbornness and my specific way of going quiet when he's figured something out. I raised him. I know him. I thought I knew him. He's never brought a woman home. Not once. He dates. I know he dates. I'm not naive, but he'd never introduced us to anyone. So when he called on a Sunday afternoon and said he was bringing someone over for dinner, my wife, Carol, nearly dropped the phone. She called me into the kitchen to tell me with the specific energy of a woman who has been waiting for this call for 3 years. We cleaned the house. Carol cooked a real dinner, the kind that takes most of the afternoon. I set the table properly. We were both nervous in the good way, the way you get nervous when something matters. I want to hold onto that afternoon for a moment, because it's the last uncomplicated thing in this story. Her name was Jess. She arrived and the first thing I noticed, and I want to be precise about this because it's the thing that started everything, was what she was wearing. I'm not going to describe it in detail because I don't need to. I'll say that it was the kind of outfit that would be appropriate for a specific kind of evening out, and that a dinner at your boyfriend's parents' house is not that kind of evening. That's my assessment. I acknowledge it's generational. I'm 58 and I grew up in a different time. I said nothing at the door. We shook hands. She was warm, polite, smiled easily. Marcus looked nervous in the way he gets nervous, very still, very watchful. We sat down. Carol served dinner. The conversation was fine initially. She talked about her work, her interests, her family. Normal getting to know you territory. I was listening and watching in the way I always listen and watch, old habit, can't turn it off, and I was forming impressions. Then the conversation shifted, and I shifted it. I asked her about her intentions regarding Marcus. Not aggressively. I thought I was being direct in the way that people who respect each other are direct. She answered carefully. I said I appreciated the candor. Then I said something about first impressions. About how what you choose to wear when you meet someone's parents for the first time communicates something about how seriously you're taking the occasion. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't screaming. I said it the way I'd say anything, directly, with the belief that honesty delivered clearly is a form of respect. Marcus put his fork down. He looked at me. He said, "Dad." Just that, my name, the short version, the one he uses when he's at the limit of his patience. I said I was being honest. He said he'd heard enough. They left. Jess barely touched her food. Carol didn't say anything until the door closed, and then she said my name in a tone I recognized from 25 years of marriage, as the tone that means we will be discussing this at length and not right now. I want to tell you my position, because I think it deserves to be stated clearly before I tell you what happened after. Marcus is an adult. He can date whoever he wants. I accept that completely. But he chose to bring her home. He made that choice. He extended an invitation that implied he wanted our opinion, our involvement, our relationship with this person. If you bring someone home to meet your parents, you are asking the parents to be parents. That's what I understood the invitation to mean. I said one thing, one observation, about a choice she made about what to wear to a specific occasion. I didn't say she was a bad person. I didn't say she was wrong for Marcus. I said the outfit communicated a specific set of priorities about the occasion that I wanted to name. Was the timing right? Probably not. Was the dinner the right venue? Possibly not. But I said what I saw. I was honest. And I've spent 22 years in an organization where honesty delivered at the wrong moment is still better than silence that costs you later. I don't regret saying it. What I couldn't reconcile, what I still can't reconcile, is what it apparently cost me. For the next year, the relationship with Marcus was strained. He was polite when we spoke. Carol was somewhere between us, present with both of us, fully committed to neither conversation. I understood that. She was trying to hold something together. I let her try. I didn't apologize. I want to be honest about why. Not because I'm stubborn exactly, although I am, but because an apology implies I was wrong and I don't believe I was wrong. I believe my delivery could have been better. I believe the dinner table wasn't the moment. But the observation itself, that there's a way to dress when you meet someone's parents for the first time, and it communicates something about how seriously you're taking the relationship. I stand by that. I stood by it then, and I stand by it now. If they couldn't engage with that, I didn't know what apology would accomplish. So I held my position. Carol held her position somewhere in the middle. Marcus held his. We orbited each other carefully for a year. I found out about the engagement from social media. Not from my son, not from my wife, from a post. A photograph of my son and Jess with a ring on her finger and my wife in the background, smiling, holding a glass of something celebratory. I sat at the kitchen table and I looked at that photograph for a long time. My wife was in that photograph. My wife had been in my house the night before, had made coffee in our kitchen that morning, had said goodbye when she left to run errands. She had been at our son's engagement, and she had come home and made coffee and said goodbye and not said a word. I'm going to tell you what I felt looking at that photograph, and I'm going to be honest even though the honesty doesn't make me look like a man who has it together. I felt something crack. Not break, crack. The specific sound of a structural thing developing a fault line that you know is permanent even if the structure is still standing. I called Marcus. He said he hadn't invited me because he didn't want negativity at his celebration, that I hadn't supported him, that the dinner had told him everything he needed to know about whether I'd be present for him in the way he needed. I said, "You excluded your father from your engagement over a comment about a dress." He couldn't answer that. I packed a bag. Carol tried to stop me at the door. I looked at her and I said, and this is the part I want Reddit to assess because I'm not sure if I was right to say it. I said, "You were there. You were at his engagement and you came home and didn't tell me. You made that choice. Whatever happens next, you made that choice." She was crying. I left. I'm in a motel room. I keep thinking about the photograph, not Marcus and Jess. My wife's face in the background, the specific expression of a woman having a good time at her son's engagement, the expression of someone who had made a decision and was living inside it comfortably enough to smile. I've been in combat. I've assessed threats in real time under conditions where assessment errors had permanent consequences. I've read rooms and people and situations for 22 years professionally. I did not see this coming. That is the thing I cannot put down. Not the engagement, not even the exclusion. The fact that the people in my house, my wife, who has slept beside me for 25 years, were capable of this, and I never saw the capacity for it. Never noticed the specific shape of a decision being made around me rather than with me. Never registered the degree to which the family I thought I knew had a private understanding that excluded me. I was trained to see these things. I didn't see this. Reddit, I need you to tell me something. AITA for the dinner. AITA for not apologizing. AITA for leaving. And tell me if you think I'm right that the proportion here is wrong. That whatever I did at that dinner, however poorly timed, however generational, however much I could have done it better, doesn't add up to being excluded from my only son's engagement by the family I spent my life building. Tell me if I'm wrong about that. Because right now, sitting in this room, I'm not sure of anything I thought I was sure of. Update 4 weeks later. I filed for divorce. I want to say that simply because it is simple, clean separation, no negotiation about terms that would require more conversation than I have capacity for right now. My attorney says it'll be finalized in about 5 weeks. Carol has not contested it. I haven't spoken to Marcus. 3 days ago my phone rang. Carol's number. I'd been letting her calls go to voicemail for 4 weeks. I'd listened to some of them. I hadn't returned any. This time I picked up. Not because I was ready, because I was tired. There's a specific tiredness that comes from carrying something heavy for long enough that putting it down stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a physical necessity. I picked up because I was tired. She was crying before she said anything. Then she told me. Jess had cheated on Marcus. Not a single incident, something that had been ongoing. The person she'd been with was in their social circle, someone Marcus trusted. Carol found out because Marcus had called her devastated and she was calling me because, her words, she thought I deserved to know. I sat with the phone against my ear, and I didn't say anything for a while. She said, "You were right, about her. You saw something we didn't want to see and we punished you for saying it." I said, "I know." She said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "I know that too." She asked if we could talk, really talk. I said I'd think about it. I haven't called back yet. Because I don't want to. Here's where I am. I'm not vindicated. I want to be clear about that because I think there's a version of this story where the cheating revelation makes everything clean and resolved, and I get to be the man who was right all along, and that's not what this is. I made a comment at a dinner table that I could have made differently. I held a position for a year that kept a door closed that I could have opened. Those things are true. They're also not the same as being excluded from my son's engagement. They're also not the same as my wife of 25 years standing in a photograph at a celebration and coming home the next morning and making coffee. I keep thinking about what I know about people now that I didn't know before. I spent my career learning to read threats from outside. I built an entire professional vocabulary around external threat assessment. I retired and I came home and I trusted the inside completely. No assessment. No watchfulness, just these are my people. This is my safe space. I was wrong about what safe space means. I was wrong about who was inside it. I'm 58 years old. I've been a soldier and a father and a husband, and I thought I understood the terrain of my own life. I didn't. I don't know what comes after this, whether I call Carol back, whether Marcus and I find a way back to something. Whether what cracked in that moment in the kitchen can be repaired, or whether cracks at that depth just become part of the structure permanently. What I know is that I'm not the same man who set that dinner table. That man trusted the inside. I don't know yet who this man is, but I'm going to find out. Now for the comments. Comment 1, I'm going to be the one who says it. The comment at dinner was wrong. Not wrong as in incorrect, wrong as in it wasn't Op's place to critique a grown woman's clothing choices to her face at a first meeting. Op admits he could have done it differently. That admission is the whole thing. You can be right about the observation and wrong about the delivery and both matter. NTA for leaving. ESH for the dinner. Op reply, I've sat with this. I've sat with it for 4 weeks in a motel room and I'm going to be honest, you're not wrong about the delivery. I know that. What I can't get past is the proportion. I delivered something poorly once. The response was a year of distance, an engagement I wasn't told about, a wife who came home and made coffee. If the delivery was the whole problem, then the response makes sense. The response doesn't make sense. That's where I keep landing. Comment 2, the part that broke me was the veteran detail. This is a man who spent 22 years professionally assessing people and environments, who survived by reading situations correctly. And the people in his own home, the ones he never turned that assessment on because he trusted them completely, were capable of something he never saw coming. That specific thing, the blind spot being the inside, that's the thing I think is going to stay with him longest. Op reply, you named it better than I did. That's exactly it. I never assessed the inside. I assessed everything that came from outside, and I trusted the inside without applying the same scrutiny. I thought trust meant you stopped watching. I understand now that trust and watchfulness aren't opposites. You can love people and still pay attention to what they're capable of. I didn't know I needed to learn that at 58. Comment 3, unpopular opinion incoming. Op says he believes he has the right to have a say in his adult son's taste in women. That sentence is the problem, not the comment at dinner, that belief. Your adult son's dating choices are not yours to have a say in. The comment at dinner came from that belief. The refusal to apologize came from that belief. Op is asking why the response was so disproportionate, but I think the family was responding to the belief, not just the comment. Op reply, this one I've read 3 times. I want to be honest, I don't fully disagree with you. The belief as I stated it was wrong. What I meant, what I was trying to say, was that when your adult son brings someone home to meet you, he's inviting your opinion into the relationship. That's different from claiming authority over his choices. I expressed it badly. Maybe that badly expressed belief is what they were responding to. I'm still thinking about this one, but can you explain what followed after? I can't now, never can. Comment 4, she called. She told him. She said you were right. And he said I know. That's the saddest 2 words in this entire post. Not because he was vindicated. Because being right cost him everything, and he knew it was going to cost him everything, and it cost him everything anyway. I know. That's the whole story in 2 words. Op reply, I've read this comment 4 times. I don't have anything to add to it. You got it right.